Hi, mamas. So we're on to day 3. All I want for Christmas is biblical birth. This series, we are going through the Bible and what it has to say about birth. So we just started at the beginning and are working our way through for the next couple days through Christmas. And so if you're here for it, stick around. Hi everyone, my name is Leslie. I'm a disciple, wife, mom, and childbirth doula, and this is where I share about all things birth, faith, and family. I'm so excited. I am having just like an awesome time going into the word about birth with you guys. And I know it's only day 3, so we're gonna kick it off. We're gonna go over to Genesis 4, and we're gonna start at verse 25. It says, "And Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and called his name Seth. For God, she said, has appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain killed. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord." Okay, y'all, then, I know this may seem like it's not important, but it goes on in Genesis 5 to talk about the genealogy of the patriarchs from Adam to Seth and through Seth all the way down to Noah. Okay, so I want us to take a moment here to see that what Eve said after she had Seth was that God has appointed me another seed. God has blessed me with yet another child. And it says that after that, men began to call upon the name of the Lord. And I want you guys to see the generational blessing that there is in this, because as we know, from that line, from Seth, from Noah, came the promise that would be Jesus, right? And the promise that God has for us, his grace for us, is written right here into the names of every single one of these descendants, okay? And so I'm going to read to you the names that I have here, followed by the definition. So if you've already heard this, then great, that's awesome. But I want you to see how the lineage from Adam to Noah tells the gospel story. The names are Adam, Seth, Enos, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah. The translation: man appointed mortal sorrow. The blessed God shall come down teaching. His death shall bring the despairing rest or comfort. Noah's name means rest or comfort. And man, how beautiful this picture. Man appointed mortal sorrow. When did that happen? The fall, right? The blessed God shall come down teaching, right? He gave us the Torah to Moses, but also Jesus came down and taught, right? His death shall bring the despairing rest or comfort. That's the salvation we get through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Is that not the gospel story written in the very names, the lineage of the patriarchs? This is absolutely amazing. I love this. But you know when it shows you this? Right after it says, "And men started calling upon the name of the Lord." Because all before this, in the previous verses in chapter 4, from the birth of Cain and Abel, then they have their whole situation. It then goes into showing you the lineage of Cain, and all that comes from their lineage, you will see, is them doing things in their own strength, them coming up with their own inventions, they're coming up with all this stuff and building their own cities and building up a name for themselves and renown and all of this for themselves. But here, that juxtaposed here with the lineage of the patriarchs, right? Of all leading down to Noah, through whom we know that is the only family, the man that God found righteous, and the only family that was saved in the flood. Because of this, because Seth began to teach his children. It says that he had Enos, and then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. He continued that. That ended. Cain had killed Abel, so that ended there, right? Cain's lineage, they didn't follow. They didn't seek the Lord. But Seth taught his lineage, taught his family, taught his son to call upon the name of the Lord. And thus came the lineage that led to Noah. And so it's twofold here. Like, we could take this at like one face value. I truly believe that names are so important. They are just absolutely just so important what you name your child. I truly think that there's there's a lot there, and there's a lot that it matters what you speak over your children. And I think speaking life and speaking promise over them and speaking blessing is very powerful. And so names matter, right? And seeking God for the name of your child is truly what I recommend that everybody do. We had a lot of names that we had on our list, but we put it into prayer, and God legitimately for every single one of our children confirmed the name to us, gave it to us. And there's meaning behind it. And then I like to remind my children of the meaning of their names daily. I like to remind them of this because I want them to know their identity, and their identity is in God. Every single one of them, their name is tied to God. Their identity is in Jesus. That is what I want them to hold on to, because that is what's everlasting. That is what never changes. That is what He is, who never fails. Okay? And so I want them to know that their identity is in Christ first and foremost. And so just a little something there to think about as you think about the name of your child, the one that you're carrying in your womb, or maybe the one that you're praying to conceive soon, or even the ones that you already have, that you've already named. Like, if you don't know the meaning of their name, or if you do, remind them, let them know what the meaning of their name is. Maybe there's a story behind it that they don't know about. Take the time to let them know that, and speak life into them, and let them understand, you have an identity, you have a purpose, right? And this is our job as mothers. But I think even more so also is here the calling upon the name of the Lord, and the blessing that has for generations. That is a blessing that goes on for generations. Here we count how many generations from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh yeah, 10. I had that written down. 10 generations from Adam to Noah, right? And that blessing continued. The calling upon the blessing that comes with calling upon the name of the Lord continued and blessed Noah. And so I want to give you guys just this one little tidbit here. So this is an excerpt from The Awe of God by John Bevere. And this is just like a tidbit note that he included there, and made me think of this, like the two of them just connected, was just so you could see the impact that your obedience as a follower of Christ, your obedience as a disciple, yours and your husband's, for how you choose to raise your children, and for what you pour into them, and for what the time and effort that you take in how you mother your children. I want you to see just the blessing in this. This is in his chapter on legacy. I recommend you read the book. This is not an affiliate. I don't have any affiliate link or anything like that. I just highly, highly recommend this book. But this is one thing that stood out to me in the book. He talks about two men born in the 18th century. And he says, just look at the juxtaposition of these two families and their descendants, right? And so in that same way, I want you to think about the ones I just told you, Cain's descendants and Seth's descendants, okay? Cain's descendants built up a whole bunch of stuff for themselves, but we all know they perished in the flood, right? Seth's descendants, we know that they called upon the Lord, and they continued. Their descendants continued through Noah post the flood, okay? So thinking that same way, this is the example of this in like modern day times, 18th century, not too long ago. 18th century, this man named Max Jukes, he was born in the early 18th century. He had 540 identified descendants, okay? This was research done by Richard Dugdale. He essentially found these different families and all these criminals that came from the same bloodline, and he just was intrigued and started looking into it, and he found 540 descendants from this man Max Jukes. 76 of them were convicted criminals. 18 were brothel keepers. Over 200 of them were government relief recipients. It was just like, essentially what John Bevere is saying is that there was just generational sins that plagued this family. On the other hand, you see Jonathan Edwards, born around the same time. He was a revivalist, an author. He was married to a woman named Sarah. They were a God-fearing couple, and he blessed his children daily. And they had 11 children. They identified 1,300 known descendants for him. Over 70 of them were either college or university presidents or professors. 3 of them were U.S. senators, 30 of them were judges, 100 of them lawyers, 60 physicians, 75 military officers, 100 missionaries or ministers. and ministers, 60 authors, and 1 vice president of the United States, who was Aaron Burr. Hey, my love.
You're going up there to play.
Yes. Wow. Isn't that a lot? All from, it's been what? 300 years? And that's 1,300 known descendants. And look at the spheres of influences that they've touched, that they've prospered in. 100 of them ministers and missionaries. Y'all, the numbers speak for themselves, right? Like, talk about legacy. But what did he do? They were a God-fearing couple. What did they do? They blessed their children daily. They reminded them who they were. Jonathan Edwards used to say that every house should be like a little church. And so I want to encourage you with that today. That what you've got growing inside of you is another member to your little church at home. And so I encourage you to think about how you're going to be building up that church. Start now. You can start speaking to your baby in the womb. You can start praying for your generations. In 300 years, where are your descendants going to be? Start praying for them. Start interceding for them. Call upon the Lord for your family. Call upon the Lord during your pregnancy, or even to conceive. Call upon the Lord for your birth. Call upon the Lord about your postpartum period. Call upon the Lord of every single stage of motherhood. Call upon the Lord. There's a blessing in that. With that, I leave you for today. More tomorrow on All I Want for Christmas is Biblical Birth. If you like this, comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you're going to name your child, or if you want prayer or anything around that. Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. God bless y'all, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.